Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. A few months back, I shared a video called What Psychologists Know About Your Clutter That You Don't, and it sparked a ton of really great conversations. You can see the full video right here. That video was an overview of a conglomerate of psychological principles and studies, from well-known thought distortions to common psychological effects that make it challenging to work through and around our clutter. Today, I want to hone in on one tiny piece of that video revolving around self-efficacy and the psychology behind success, specifically the psychological key to decluttering success. This is probably one of the most action-oriented principles that I covered in the previous video, and it's definitely the most common theme that I see from students in my programs when decluttering feels impossible, unlikely, or even scary. Decluttering requires effort, decision-making, and taking action. And many people struggle with this process because they lack confidence in their ability to let things go or to create any kind of order in their space for a variety of reasons. We're not here to talk about the reasons today. I have a ton of other videos that go into why we hold on to things and have trouble rationalizing letting go of excess belongings. But regardless of the reason, a general feeling of "I just can't" is not uncommon. And I believe that understanding the psychology behind decluttering success can help you to overcome these barriers and achieve a clutter-free life if that's your goal. So let's dive into the psychology behind decluttering success and how to wield some actionable methods to make you just as successful at curating your own version of a clutter-free haven as your minimalist neighbor down the road. Okay, so what am I even talking about? Well, in the late 1970s, a psychologist named Albert Bandura introduced the concept of self-efficacy to the world, and it's a concept that is widely taught and practiced in psychology today. The self-efficacy theory states that people's belief in their own abilities in any given task or project profoundly impacts their behavior and their success in that thing. If your self-efficacy around subjects like decluttering or organizing or just maintaining a chaos-free life is low, you're likely not going to take the actions and behaviors necessary to achieve the outcome of having a clutter-free or chaos-free space. If you believe you can, you're right. If you believe you can't, well, you're also right. Luckily, we don't have to just accept our low self-efficacy score on something. We can raise it by tapping into the 4 sources of self-efficacy as laid out by Bandura. So let's talk about what these 4 sources of self-efficacy are and how you can use these 4 sources and take simple, actionable steps in your daily life to bolster your self-efficacy in decluttering and make yourself a superstar at creating a clutter-free Zen space inside of your own home, or at very least to find decluttering success. The first of these 4 sources of self-efficacy is something Bandura calls acts of mastery. These are performance outcomes. In other words, you've done it before or you've done something similar, so you feel like you can be successful in this. This is where things like taking those baby steps comes in. They really are helpful in eventually building the confidence to believe that you can be a clutter-free person or that you can take on bigger projects inside of your home. Acts of mastery involves achieving small, manageable tasks to build confidence. So here's some practical ways that you can implement this inside of your own space. First of all, you can just start small. Begin with a single drawer or a small corner of a room. Successfully organizing a small space can boost your confidence to tackle larger areas. You should also set achievable goals. Keep your goals manageable. Don't try to overextend or do too much in one day or in one weekend. I know we like to get it all done at once, but remember, the fact of being successful is just as important, if not more so, than the result that you're achieving in any given day. Being successful in your goal of decluttering something for 15 minutes every day regularly is going to give you more results than if you did 5 times that amount one day and burned yourself out and couldn't continue because your goals weren't achievable. And another thing is to reward yourself. So this could be just acknowledging and celebrating your achievements, no matter how small they are, or it could be doing something that the book Atomic Habits calls temptations bundling, where you take your small manageable goal and you bundle it with something else that you really want to do. And you allow yourself to do that habit or that reward that you really want to partake in after you've achieved your small goal. So if you really like watching shows on Netflix, You could bundle that with your 15-minute daily goal of decluttering a specific drawer or a specific area. And once you've completed that 15 minutes, then you get to watch a show on Netflix. So here's what acts of mastery might look like for you in your decluttering. Let's say you decide to clear out and organize your spice rack, and it only takes you about 30 minutes, but once you're done, it'll look so magnificent that you feel confident and inspired to go tackle the pantry, and so on. It's taking something small and building the confidence from that, and then moving on to something slightly larger. I had a couple of people just reach out to me this week after watching my workshop saying that their clutter is causing them horrible anxiety and that it just feels paralyzing when they try to tackle it. And I get messages like this all the time. So if this is you, you're 100% not alone. It can feel like a lot when you try to tackle things that have built up over the course of years. And when I get these messages, I generally recommend that they start by doing what I call organic decluttering, where you naturally declutter things when you're in a space without really giving it much thought, essentially without telling your brain that you are, quote, decluttering, which can feel stressful, or it can feel like there's a certain amount that needs to come along with that. And when you practice this type of decluttering, you're starting small, you're keeping your goals manageable, and in the process, you also build muscle memory and decluttering habits, which are way more powerful and longer lasting than any short decluttering binge. The second source of self-efficacy to tap into is vicarious experiences, learning from other people's wins, or seeing other people who you feel are similar to you achieve the results that you want to achieve. This often leads us to believe, well, if they can do it, then I can do it. So here are some things that you can do to tap into vicarious experiences to make you more successful at decluttering. First of all, find role models. Follow blogs, YouTube channels, or social media accounts of people who share their decluttering journeys. Learn from others who have successfully minimized their stuff. There are a ton of people who fit that description right here on YouTube. Join communities. You can participate in online forums or local groups that are focused on decluttering and minimalism, and there are tons of those out there as well. These places often have real-world people sharing their real-world tips and experiences that have worked for other humans just like you. So it can be incredibly motivating and also great for fresh ideas. You can also look for workshops or classes on organizing or decluttering. And these are great because they're typically like an hour long, so you're not committing to countless hours of streaming videos, just hoping that you find something useful. And they also provide more concentrated concepts and tips. So you're getting a lot more in a short period of time. And they typically have real life success stories or case studies or ideas. So you're getting a little bit of the best of both worlds. It can be challenging to find the exact workshop that you're looking for. They're typically found through the people that you're already following or subscribed to. I do in fact offer one of my own. It's called the Clutter-Free Formula. And in mine, I share my more holistic approach to clutter-free living. You're welcome to watch my workshop. It is free. I'll leave a link for it down in the description. Or if you're just listening, you can go to miadanielle.com/workshop. Okay, the third source of self-efficacy is verbal persuasion. This is, they told me I can do it, so I believe I can. Words can be powerful. The right words or beliefs from someone else can really make all the difference. We read social cues from others. So like if somebody has a terrified look on their face and they're ranting about something scary or unsafe, we're likely to feel on guard too, just because it all transfers. Well, when somebody you trust or that you can relate to confidently says, "Oh, this is easy, you can do this, no problem," you might just find yourself believing that too. But it doesn't even have to be from another person. This is why affirmations are so popular for people who are trying to achieve something big or make a big life change, build new habits, because when you tell yourself something enough times, good or bad, you start to believe it as well. So some things you can do to tap into this source of verbal persuasion are to seek support. Share your decluttering goals with optimistic friends or family members. You got to make sure you find the optimistic ones. You don't want the ones who are always in a state of doom and gloom or what's the point anyway? That's not going to be helpful. And if you don't currently have anybody who's super optimistic in your life, then you can go take a look at one of those decluttering groups that I mentioned earlier, because they always have someone who's gung-ho and optimistic. You can also use affirmations. Write down and repeat positive affirmations like, "I am capable of creating space in my home," or "I'm in control of my own environment." I find that those more general, like "I'm in control of this," can really be empowering. And when you say these things, you begin to look at your world through a filter of that phrase. Remember, when you say something enough times, you start to believe it. And when you start to look at things through a filter of somebody who is in control of their environment and feels empowered inside of their own space, you're more likely to make decisions that somebody who is in control and empowered in their space would make. And the third thing you can do to help with verbal persuasion when it comes to decluttering is to enlist professional help. And this doesn't have to be like a therapist or hiring somebody to take care of things for you, like maybe a professional organizer or something like that. It could just be something like a decluttering coach or a course creator who has experience helping others to achieve success. When someone is seen as an expert in their field, we tend to value and believe what they say more. They would know, right? If they've seen someone like me take these steps and achieve success, then I believe I can too. All right, so the fourth and final source of self-efficacy that you can tap into for your decluttering success is what Bandura calls psychological arousal, which is basically your emotional state. Sometimes your physical body or mind just feels less confident. It can be hormones, exhaustion, depression, or other things going on in your life that have your mood in a little bit of a dip, to the point where you don't really feel as confident. We all go through that, right? Catching yourself at the right time or working on having a more positive, optimistic mindset can magically increase your self-efficacy like on the spot in any given thing. You feel more optimistic and better about the outcomes, so you take more inspired actions and you get better results for it. Now, it may feel like, well, my mindset and my emotions are a little bit out of my control. I can't control all of these things that are happening in my life, but there are still some things that you can do to tap into this powerful source of self-efficacy. And honestly, these are some of my favorites. The first is mindfulness practices. I've talked with my students a lot about an effective decluttering mindset because it swings all of the results. You can take the exact same actions, one with a resistant mindset and one with an empowered mindset, and get two completely different results. Some common practices that people use to set an empowered and calm mindset are things like meditation, yoga, just taking a walk, or listening to somebody who gets you motivated or makes you think differently and kind of gets you out of your own little perception bubble for a bit. Just getting your mindset to a place of optimism and calm empowerment instead of feeling frazzled and paralyzed and anxious and, like all of the things that can happen when you start going through years and years of belongings will make all the difference in your results and in the decisions that you make and how likely you are to continue or to take those actions again because it either felt really good or it didn't feel great. Another thing you can do is to be aware of what triggers negative emotions related to your clutter and develop strategies to manage these feelings. In my last video, there were so many people in the comments who identified past trauma as leading to their clutter. And this is absolutely true. I know that people throw the word trauma around a lot, but there are legitimately people who have had trauma in their lives growing up related to their belongings, and it can completely sway the way that you deal with your belongings as an adult. I know someone who had a rough childhood, an abusive stepdad, poor living conditions, and she often told me that she was only permitted to purchase one pair of blue jeans every year, and that was her clothing budget. So from the time she was emancipated and became in control of her own environment, she never let go of a single item of clothing. And now her closets are so packed that you couldn't step foot inside of them. Well, for this person, blue jeans might not be the best place to start decluttering. So you see what I'm saying? Identify if you have any triggers, and let's try to steer clear of those at least when you're getting started. But this last method of tapping into psychological arousal and getting yourself in the right mindset and the right emotional state is one of my favorites, and that is to create a positive environment. Surround yourself with an environment that promotes positivity and productivity. Your environment impacts your mood and your energy in so many ways. In fact, nothing alters you as immediately and completely as simply being in a space. This can be as simple as playing motivating music or using essential oils to add like a lemony clean zest to your space, making you want everything else to look as nice as it smells. It could be moving a few pieces of furniture to make room to move throughout your home more easily before you start trying to tackle all of the little pieces of clutter around it. You might even go so far as to paint the walls a certain color, something that brings freshness to the space and makes you want to make everything else as new and fresh as those crisp new walls. Maybe that encourages you to go clean out the closet of that room or to dig into the bins. So, whatever it is for you, how can you optimize your environment to help motivate you and get you in the right mindset to make those changes? Understanding the psychology behind decluttering success goes so much further than just motivation or one time inspiration. These practices help to reshape your habits and even your identity on a fundamental level. If you want some tools to help you begin tapping into all of these today, I have tools to help you along in my free resource library full of workbooks, checklists, and more, and the free workshop that I mentioned earlier. You'll see the link to that down in the description, my clutter-free formula. It's totally free for you to watch, and I'll chat with you next week.